I always used to say, oh, this is a bad thing that's happening. If something happened that I didn't want to happen. And then I'd say, if something happened that I wanted to happen, I said, it's a good thing, right? But if I can learn from the bad thing that's happened to me, then it's a good thing. So I've since come to believe that no matter what happens, it's a good thing. We went from selling raspberries, Saskatoons, and apple trees to selling 240 different plants, trees, and shrubs, hardy to northern Canada. We have sold plants and trees to every province and territory in Canada. And this is what changed my idea, because I said, I'm either going to make money on the farm or I'm going to be a geologist. I'm not doing this anymore. Because you see, we used to hire people. Gail and I used to both work out. So we have to hire people to look after the farm. And you know, with the economy the way it was, we hired people that were so lazy, they got fired from Canada Post. Okay? And the trouble is nobody cares about your business as much as you do. And so this is their greenhouse. And when I came home from, God knows where to find this happening, what happened? Is this a bad thing or a good thing? No, it was a bad thing at the time. In fact, the worst thing that I think could have happened. But what happened was, I made the decision then and there, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm farming for good, and we're going to make our money off the farm, or we're not going to farm it. This is my buddy, because everybody says, you know, we was talking about that 70 hours and stuff like that. So I golf every morning, and because I said, you know, and if I'm just going to work, who cares? So I golf, and who golf in the morning? Old guys, old retired guys. So here's the old fogies that I golf with, right? This bald-headed old guy on the end, his name was Ray Kelly. Ray Kelly said, you know, he was a scratch handicap, right? And he'd hit a ball into the bush, and he'd say, I'm glad I hit that ball into the bush. I said, you're happy? He said, I'm happy. He says, because I got a club in the back here that I've been waiting to use for a long, long time. And you see, what happened was, no matter what happened to him, he always saw the positive side to it, right? And since I was golfing with him, I came to believe that no matter what happens in my life, I've got a club back here that I can use to get me out of the rough. And you know what the funny thing is? We all do. We all have that club in the back to get us out of the rough. So here's what it is. Marketing. Is this how you market your stuff? Little handmade sign on the price of the road. Here, let's reduce our price and we'll sell more stuff. Remember, we're not about selling more stuff. We're selling about more money. And so here's what happens. We're down in British Columbia, and they're giving tours. And look at this. It's a lavender farm. A lavender farm. And guess what happened? They're giving a tour, and it's a free tour. So guess what? We're farmers. Stopping for a free tour. Guess what they have in the lavender tour? A field of lavender. This is what the whole tour was. I said, this is a farce. This is a ripoff, right? Guess what? Our car was stopped, and the wallet was out. At the lavender farm. So I said, if they can do it, I can do it. So here's what happened. I'm looking at there, and they said, man, they're growing grapes there. You know what grape land is worth down there? $10,000 an acre. And I said, wow, what we got to do is we've got to buy some grape land down in southern BC. And so $10,000 an acre, we couldn't have bought too many acres. So here's what we did. We started planting grapes. We just said, hey, if they can do it, we can do it. So we started planting grapes, and guess what happened? So there's me planting grapes. You see, what happens is you don't know what you don't know. So we were growing grapes, and there's a big Muslim community in Lac La Biche, was not too far away, and they said, you've got grape leaves here. We said, yeah, so what? Well, you know how the Ukrainians make cabbage rolls? They make grape rolls, right? But you can't buy grape leaves in northern Alberta. But you can at one place. And guess what that place was? But I didn't know that people bought grape leaves until I started growing grapes, right? So guess what we did? We said, screw the grapes, we're selling leaves, right? And you know how much we got per leaf? 50 cents a leaf. I said, holy cats, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to sell grape leaves from now on. So guess what we did? We said, well, we've got to make the supply. So here's what happens. This is my vineyard. And what's cool about this is we've got the largest vineyard in Alberta. We've got the only vineyard in Alberta, right? And so you say, so what? Remember, when you create a monopoly position, when you're the only place that sells that, what can you charge for your stuff? Anything you want. Okay, so we called it Napa del Norte, which means Napa of the North, right? Remember I was telling you about that cattle land and it had this great view across the valley and stuff like that? We're turning it all into vineyard. All of it. And so I said well, what's our label going to be, right? Chateau Lacasse, my wife's maiden name, right? That got me in good with her for a long, long time, right? You start naming stuff after your wife, let me tell you, except for cows. Don't name your don't name your cows after your wife, right? No matter how much you like it. Okay, so anyway, so that's what we're doing. All I'm telling you is that your craziest idea, whether it's cattle or something else, those are the things that set you apart from anywhere else. Okay, and this is what our vintage is. And this last year, so we've been in it for 4 years, we're starting to get production, and now it's just experimental. But we're doing the great thing. So here's what happened. We went to Victoria. And anybody been to the Bouchard Gardens? Anybody? Come on, somebody's got it. Sure, Bouchard Gardens. So me and my wife went down there because we're selling trees and plants and all kinds of fun stuff. So we said, we'll go down to the Bouchard Gardens and see what they're doing there, right? And so we did. So this is Bouchard Gardens. And we said, and what was the words that we said? Not a bad start. I think I've got this great idea. We could do this here. Because you know where they make their money from? The bus tours coming in. Remember I showed that thing about the tours? Because it's all coming together. So we said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to plant gardens so that people from all over the world come to Boyle and see our gardens, right? So here we have tea in the Bouchard Gardens. $35 for some tea and crumpets, right? I said, this is a gold mine. Because people will flock to pay $35 for tea and crumpet. You look like a tea and crumpet guy right here. And I think we've got a customer. I saw it in his eyes. He's nodding his head, yes. Tea was on my mind right now. So here's remember, it just starts with an idea, right? And no matter how crazy the idea, if you don't do it, then nothing will happen. This is one of the bus tours, and guess who gives the tour? I do. You know what? I love my life. I love my business. I love farming. And they see that. You see, what happens is I got something that a big box store can't sell. I've got me, and I got my pride and my farm. And they can't match that any place, right? What's the Walmart thing? Roll back the prices. Zellers, lowest prices of law. That is not what our motto is, right? Because people are not buying a commodity. They are buying what? They're buying a lifestyle that each and every one of you guys have. Everybody who's working in things and driving into town and driving sometimes from Westlock all the way into Edmonton to work. You know what they're all doing? They all wish they were on the farm doing what you were doing. And what happens is, when we sell stuff, I'm selling a little piece of that idea. I'm selling a little piece of the joy that I find getting up every morning, going facing those cattle or the rain or whatever's got in front of me that day. So this is what happened. One day, my wife and I went, we have breakfast in the rose garden. You know, they talk about paradise, they talk about heaven, and you know, heaven. What happens if you get up and this is what you see when you're eating breakfast? Right? And you see, this has nothing to do with money. This has nothing to do with selling things. You know what it has to do with? Loving who you are and loving what you do. And our place is so happy, even our chicken, right? They have heart-shaped eggs. Isn't that sick? That, my friends, is the joy of farming. How do you like them apples?